Hey man, I don't mean to laugh at this entire situation, but at this point, you have to, man. You literally have to laugh at this situation at this point, man. It's ridiculous what's going on, man. It's ridiculous. Just imagine you sent out this very thoughtful message about your relationship with your significant other, and then they say, okay. Now, I'm gonna save you guys.
That reaction right there tells you everything you need to know about where we are with the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement. The Players Union just sent out this lengthy, carefully crafted statement about respect and seriousness in negotiations. And the league's response, literally one paragraph. It's the professional equivalent of getting a heartfelt text and replying with K. But here's where this gets messy. Because what happened next reveals a divide that's tearing apart the league's credibility with its own fan base.
Today's display of an inflatable rat, a universal symbol of labor protest outside of the NBA store, calls attention to how the league and its teams have handled these negotiations. Now, this is the inflatable rat that they're talking about, man. Take a look at this. Take a look at this. What is this? What is this, fam? I know it's hard for y'all to read it, but it says some suggested resolutions for Kathy Engelberg and Adam Silver. First thing it says is get it together. Oh my god.
Let's talk about that inflatable rat for a second. The Players Union rolled out this massive protest symbol outside the NBA store in New York on January 31st, 2025, the day the CBA deadline officially passed. It had suggested resolutions written on it: get it together, take accountability, pay the players, and have a 2026 WNBA season. Now, in their statement, they called this a universal symbol of labor protests and said the league wasn't meeting them with the same spirit and seriousness. But here's the problem. You can't demand to be taken seriously while simultaneously rolling out what looks like a college prank. Union President Nneka Ogwumike has been positioning herself and the players as the sophisticated business minds in this negotiation. They've been citing revenue growth, comparing themselves to NBA operations, talking about understanding their value. And then they show up with an inflatable cartoon rat.
A group of players ruin their image amongst the fans, fam. Napheesa Collier specifically. I mean, she went from on top of the mountain, everybody respecting her, everybody believing she's the smartest player in the world, everybody loving her, to now being the butt end of a joke. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And Napheesa Collier isn't the only one behind all this. Of course, you have Nneka, Breanna Stewart, you have all the people in the cabin, right?
The speed of this image collapse is unprecedented in professional sports. Think about where Nneka Ogwumike was just 4 months ago. In the 2024 season, she's being praised as the smartest player in the league, a future executive, someone who truly understands the business side of basketball. Fans respected her. Media members quoted her. She had credibility across the board. Fast forward to February 2025, and that same fan base is calling the entire union leadership delusional. The shift didn't happen because fans suddenly stopped supporting player rights or fair compensation. It happened because of how the players have communicated their position. When you're trying to win a public negotiation, optics matter. Messaging matters. And right now, the players are losing the PR battle badly.
They're basically saying that they want the revenue share and they're not respecting us. That's the main thing that they're saying in this statement, once again, right? And from my understanding from both sides, they're going to keep up with the status quo, basically saying they're going to keep negotiating the CBA, although the deadline is over with. They're going to have some type of moratorium proposal where they can at least try to start to get ready for the 2026 season if they have one. Now, what's crazy about that statement is all you can really do is say, hey, we're interested, wait for the season.
Let's break down what's actually at stake here. Because the CBA deadline passing on January 31st creates a cascade of problems that go way beyond just delayed negotiations. Without a collective bargaining agreement in place, entire league infrastructure freezes. No draft, and that includes both the regular WNBA draft and the expansion draft for the Golden State Valkyries. No free agent signings, no trades, no contract extensions, players can't even use team facilities for official workouts. But here's what most people aren't talking about: the scheduling nightmare. ESPN's Ramona Shelburne broke this story on February 3rd, and it's massive. She reported that league insiders are increasingly concerned about how delays in the CBA will affect the 20, and this isn't a minor inconvenience. This is a fundamental threat to the league's ability to capitalize on its biggest revenue opportunity in history.
Anybody trading, you can't have anybody signing any deals. You can't do anything. You're at a standstill without this CBA being negotiated. What else can you do, man? It's such a mess right now. And the thing is, most players wait until certain players that played their position get signed for X amount of dollars so they can kind of have a clear understanding of where they stand at with their salary. They want to, see what's going on over here so I could possibly ask for this and say, man, I'm better than this player, so y'all should be able to give me this, right? Now, like I stated before,
Think about what happened with the Atlanta Dream last season. They had to move an Indiana Fever game, a Caitlin Clark game, to a different arena because of scheduling conflicts. And that was with a full off-season to plan. They had months to coordinate with State Farm Arena, to work out dates, to handle logistics, and they still ran into problems. Now imagine trying to schedule an entire season's worth of games with a compressed timeline. These arenas don't just sit empty waiting for the WNBA. They book concerts 6 months in advance, comedy tours, corporate events, college basketball tournaments. The longer the CBA negotiations drag out, the more those prime dates get snatched up by other events. And once they're gone, they're gone. Here's the specific problem. Multiple teams have already identified which games they want to move to larger venues. The Indiana Fever playing at Gainbridge Fieldhouse versus playing at a 17,000-seat arena for Caitlin Clark games. That's the difference between selling 8,000 tickets and selling 17,000 tickets. That's potentially millions of dollars in additional revenue across a season. But you can't book those larger arenas without confirmed dates. And you can't confirm dates without a...
I'm in Georgia, so I have to go for them just a tad bit, all right? I have to go for them a tad bit. But we remember exactly what came out about moving that Indiana Fever game to State Farm Arena, and that was a conflict of scheduling. Right? So if you had a conflict of scheduling when you had all this time to actually schedule these games, just imagine the headache and the chaos that you all are going to have having this small window frame to schedule all these games, fam. All right, and I'm not just talking about moving the Indiana Fever games to bigger arenas so y'all can capitalize the most. I'm talking about all these arenas, fam. The small arenas, the big arenas. I mean, all these are...
Let's put some actual numbers to this, because the financial context matters when we're talking about what the players are demanding versus what the league is offering. According to multiple reports, the league's final offer before the deadline included raising the minimum salary from approximately $70,000 to $250,000. The maximum salary would jump from around $245,000 to $1.3 million. Those are massive increases. We're talking about players at the bottom of the salary scale seeing their pay more than triple. Veterans at the top seeing their compensation increase by over 400%. The total salary cap would rise significantly, with more flexibility for teams to retain star players and build competitive rosters. But the players want more than salary increases. They want revenue sharing, a percentage of the league's total revenue, similar to what NBA players receive, and this is where the negotiation hits a wall, because the economic realities of the two leagues are completely different.
You don't necessarily see, fam. All right, this is the part of that business side that you don't be seeing when it comes to Unrivaled. Y'all are in one arena, nobody is traveling. You have all these things to worry about when it comes to the WNBA, man. It's just crazy to compare responsibilities for Unrivaled to the WNBA. It's just completely in two different worlds, man. Let's say the CBA doesn't get done until March. Oh my goodness, can y'all imagine the chaos? I stated in one of my videos before, we're gonna need Noah's Ark to survive the flood of news that's gonna come in once
The NBA has been profitable for decades. They have established revenue streams, long-term media deals worth billions, sold-out arenas in every market, international broadcast rights that generate massive income when NBA players negotiate for 50% of basketball-related income. They're negotiating for a share of actual profit. The WNBA is still building toward profitability. Yes, the 2024 season saw record revenue growth. Yes, attendance was up. Yes, the Caitlin Clark effect drove unprecedented viewership numbers. But revenue and profit are not the same thing. You can have record revenue and still operate at a loss if your expenses exceed your income. And according to every financial analysis that's been made public, the WNBA has been operating at a loss for most of its existence, with the NBA subsidizing operations. So, when players point to Unrivaled, the 3-on-3 league that Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier launched, and say, if they can run their league this way, the WNBA should be able to run ours the same way. They're comparing completely different business models. Unrivaled operates in one location. No travel costs, no arena rental fees across multiple cities, no massive operational overhead. 6 teams instead of 12. It's a fundamentally different financial equation.
The game last night in Unrivaled, shout out to my Breeze, all right? Yeah, Rakia Jackson throwing shots. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this.
Okay, we youngins. That's it. We're not nobody's kids, daughters, nieces. Y'all not sunning us. We young and turn, young with money, young and fun, all that. Y'all want to see us. They keep calling us kids, but ain't it more embarrassing to get beat by kids?
Oh, man. Now, she could be playing, I don't know, but shots fired, man.
And then you have moments like this. Rakia Jackson throwing shade at the veterans after her team, the Rose BC, won another game in Unrivaled. She's on camera saying, "We young and rich, we young and turn, we young and fun," then adds, "Y'all better not make it any more embarrassing against BC." Whether she's joking or serious, the optics are terrible. You've got younger players who are benefiting from this alternative league, talking trash about the veterans who are supposed to be negotiating on behalf of everyone. The generational divide in the WNBA is becoming more visible, and it's not helping the union's position. Younger players like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and Cameron Brink are signing massive endorsement deals outside of basketball. Their WNBA salaries, while important, aren't their primary income source. But for veterans who've been in the league for 10 or 15 years, who don't have those same endorsement opportunities, the CBA negotiations represent their financial future. So here's what this all means and why the next few weeks are absolutely critical for the future of the WNBA. If the CBA doesn't get finalized by mid-March, we're looking at a cascading series of problems that could genuinely threaten the 2026 season. First, the scheduling crisis. Ramona Shelburne's reporting on February 3rd wasn't speculation, it was based on conversations with team executives who are already seeing their preferred arena dates getting booked by other events. The Connecticut Sun want to move certain games to larger venues. The Las Vegas Aces are looking at alternative locations for high-profile matchups. The New York Liberty are trying to maximize their championship momentum with bigger arena bookings. Every week without a CBA is another week where those opportunities disappear. Second, the draft situation. The 2026 WNBA draft is supposed to happen in April, but you can't hold a draft without a CBA because the rookie salary scale is determined by the collective bargaining agreement. And it's not just the regular draft, the Golden State Valkyries expansion draft needs to happen first, so the new franchise can build its roster. That's 2 separate drafts that require CBA framework, and we're already in February with no deal in sight. Third, free agency. Multiple star players have contracts expiring after the 2025 season. They're waiting to see what the new salary structure looks like before making decisions about where to play. Normally, players would be negotiating extensions right now, or at least having preliminary conversations with their agents about market value. Instead, everything is frozen, and the longer this drags out, the more compressed and chaotic free agency becomes when it finally opens. Fourth, and this is the one nobody's talking about enough, player preparation. Without access to team facilities, without the ability to work with team trainers and strength coaches, players are having to find alternative gyms and private trainers. That's fine for superstars who can afford high-end private training, but what about the players making $70,000 who just lost access to world-class facilities? The competitive imbalance this creates gets worse with every passing week. Fifth, the public perception problem. Remember, the WNBA just had its best season in history. Caitlin Clark brought millions of new fans to the league, attendance records were shattered, viewership numbers that would have been equivalent 2 years ago became routine. Angel Reese's rebounding streak, Aja Wilson's scoring dominance, the New York Liberty's championship run, the 2024 season gave the league momentum it's never had before. And now, instead of capitalizing on that momentum, the story is labor disputes and inflatable rats and players calling each other out on social media. Every day the CBA fight continues is another day the league loses ground with casual fans who tuned in for Caitlin Clark and might have stuck around for the product. You can't afford to waste this opportunity. The players' position isn't unreasonable, in theory. They want a bigger share of revenue in a league that's growing. They want long-term financial security. They want respect and recognition for the value they bring. All of that makes sense, but the execution has been disastrous. When you release a statement demanding to be taken seriously, then show up with an inflatable rat, you undercut your own message. When you compare the WNBA's operational complexity to unrivaled single-location model, you reveal that you don't fully understand the business you're trying to restructure. When you let younger players throw shade at veterans during sensitive negotiations, you look fractured and disorganized. The league's one-paragraph response to the union's lengthy statement wasn't dismissive because they don't care. It was dismissive because they don't need to engage in a public relations battle they're already winning. The fans are turning on the player. The media narrative is shifting toward the players are being unrealistic. The longer this drags out, the more leverage the owners gain. And here's the thing about leverage in negotiations. Once you lose it, it's almost impossible to get back. The players had maximum leverage at the end of the 2024 season, when everyone was talking about growth and opportunity and the Caitlin Clark effect. They could have pushed hard for significant salary increases, better benefits, improved working conditions, and probably gotten most of what they wanted. But by letting the deadline pass, by turning this into a public spectacle with protest symbols and social media drama, they've given the owners time to let public opinion shift. Now, when the players eventually accept a deal that's less than what they initially demanded, it won't look like a compromise, it'll look like a loss. So what happens next? Most likely, negotiations continue through February and into March. Both sides will make concessions. The players will probably get salary increases close to what the league already offered, maybe with some additional benefits around travel and accommodations. They won't get revenue sharing, at least not in this CBA. That's a conversation for 3 or 4 years down the line, once the league can demonstrate sustained profitability. The 2026 season will probably happen, but it'll be chaotic. Compressed free agency, rushed scheduling, less than optimal arena bookings for big games. Some of that Caitlin Clark revenue potential will be left on the table because teams won't have time to properly plan and market their premium matchups. And the players will have learned an expensive lesson about the difference between being right and being effective. You can be right about deserving more money. You can be right about the league undervaluing your contributions. You can be right about wanting a bigger piece of growing revenue. But if you can't communicate that position effectively, if you can't maintain public support, if you can't negotiate strategically, being right doesn't matter. The question now is whether the union leadership recognizes how badly they've misplayed this situation and adjusts their approach, or whether they double down on tactics that clearly aren't working. Because every week that passes without a deal is another week the league loses ground. It can't afford to lose. So where do you stand on this? Do you think the players are justified in holding out for revenue sharing even if it delays the season, or do you think they should take the massive salary increases on the table and revisit revenue sharing in the next CBA negotiation? Because you can't have it both ways. Either you prioritize getting a deal done and protecting the 2026 season, or you prioritize maximum financial demands and risk everything that comes with a prolonged standoff. Let me know in the comments which side you're on, because this is about to get a lot messier before it gets better.